Happy Monday evening, everybody, and welcome to the Nonnaboss Continuum. How is everybody tonight? I hope everybody is doing great. I'm just glad my Monday is over. So now the rest of the week is downhill. So I just want to quickly say hi to everybody. Let's see who is all here tonight. We've got Mr. Gary Spikes. Hi, Gary. Always Gary. Gary in the house every time. Never missed a show, not one. Never missed a live, not one. Never missed a live investigation, not one. Gary, you're going to get a special shout out. You mark my words, you're going to get one. Hi, Moon at Noon. Nice to see you. And we have Standing Stones in the house. Let's see if I can get this mouse to work. And we've got Jim's camera at dawn. How you doing, Jim? I love your emails, by the way. I love it when you email me. You always send me such cool emails. And we've got, let's see, I know there's more people in here. Hold on, am I scrolling here? And we have Mr. Jay Fritz. Hi, Jay. How are you? I hope you're doing good. I know you've been getting out in the Ocala forest. I've been there before. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. Lots of bears, though. Take your bear spray. Let's see. Who else? We've got Lenny. Hi, Lenny. So glad you're here. And Miss Jean Hudson. Hi, Jean. Good to see you. I hope you're not too cold up there in Michigan. And let's see who else. Let me see. I know there's more in here. Y'all are really chatty tonight. Hi, Roger. How are you? I'm glad you're here. You guys are chatty. Miss Cindy Bailey. Miss you, girl. Let's see. I did see Mr. Robbie Rains. Hi, Robbie. How are you? I'm so glad you're here. Let's see. Did I miss anybody? I don't think so. I think tonight's going to be a very calm. I think tonight's going to be a very calm show. And we're going to learn a lot from our guest tonight. But before we get to our guest, let's all welcome our beautiful co-host, Miss Marianne Zoivel.
Hi, guys.
So excited you're here.
Oh, I'm excited to be here.
Oh, I'm just, I don't know, like all week long, I've been so excited knowing that you were going to be coming back and, co-hosting with me, So I've been waiting for the show for, I don't even know, for a whole week. I've been like, yes. Because I enjoy your perspective, and I enjoy, the questions that you ask, that you have like this, like, I don't know. You're just cool. You're a cool chick, man. Cool chick.
Don't tell everybody.
Try to keep it undercover. And then we do have tonight, we do have our bingo game starting. We've got our Bigfoot Bingo that is starting tonight. If you have not received your bingo card, you need to email me for your bingo card and request your bingo card. And then that way we will, you'll be able to play along. So basically how it works is you're going to have your bingo card that I sent you. And as we have guests on, as Marianne and I talk about all different kinds of subjects with all these different types of people that we're going to be speaking to over the next few weeks, you guys, when you hear certain words or phrases that are on your bingo card, you're going to mark them off. And whoever gets bingo first
gets some cool stuff.
Get some cool merch out of the merch store. So make sure.
You know what? We might even be able to hook them up with some Ozark Mountain Bigfoot Conference stuff too.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. You heard it. You heard it here first. So yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun if you haven't gotten it, and I really do think it's going to be over. I don't think anybody's going to win it tonight. I doubt. I think it'll be a few shows that it's going to take for somebody to actually win it. I think they're going to have to tune in, watch the shows, and check your bingo cards for the words and the phrases that are on them. So that's pretty much it. All right, guys, let's bring on our amazing guest, Mr. Brian Barber, who is an experiencer, and he is also up in Michigan. And Brian, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, Bigfoot started off in my life pretty early on. So, as far back as basically I can remember as a kid, my grandma had some property and there were little things going on. And I remember there were woods. We had acres to play on. And, the whole typical back my age, teeter-totter, if anybody knows what that is anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And swing sets and, run and play in the trees, and which was great. And then grandma would take us on walks, which was fine. There was a 2-track that went for maybe a mile or so, but then it would veer off to the right. And that was where, grandma would tell you, that's where Bigfoot lives. We don't go back there. And even if we pushed the boundaries, you would walk in the woods, and then there would be no birds. There'd be no squirrels or chipmunks running and playing. And even the dog refused to go back there. So
that's
that was as early back as I can remember. And I was even watching when In Search of first came out with Patterson Gimlin film. And my dad and I were watching, and I point at the TV. I'm like, "Hey, is that what lives at Grandma's? Is that what lives at Grandma's?" And he's like, "Well, not that one, but yes, there is one there." So really early on started the fascination, and of course the library, when you could actually have books that had the picture of the Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot, and then the alien. It looked like he was beaming both of them up at the same time. Literature was hard to find, but it was a lot of fun trying to stay in touch with it. So that was how I got into it.
So when was your first, your very first, experience? How old were you when you had your very first inclination? Something's going on.
The woods were the first inclination. There was something there that we didn't know about. That was at the age of 6, 7, 8. My very first sighting was when I was 16 in 1987. And it was actually only about 2 miles from where that property is in Benzie County, Michigan. And I love taking nighttime drives. Still love it to this day. 10, 12 o'clock at night, slap in back then cassette tapes, find that perfect song, rewind, fast forward.
Mm-hmm.
But I was coming up around the corner, and it looked like somebody had thrown a huge, 55-gallon bag of garbage next to the guardrail. And I'm like, that's pretty rude. And as I got closer, it looked like a bear because it had hair on it. But, it was hunched down and up next to the guardrail, and it was bigger than the guardrail at the time. Oh, cool, I'm going to get to see a big bear. So I slow way down and pull over so I'm off the road on the shoulder where this thing is. And I get within maybe 10, 15 feet from the bumper of my headlights that were on bright. And I had a 79 El Camino at the time. And as I stop, this thing stands up and squares off to my car. And it's so tall that I can only see from about the chest, neck traps area down. And the eyes were just outside. You could see the eye shine, but you couldn't see the face. It was in the shadows. And its shoulders were as wide as my car. It was, I'm in shock at that point, and it took me a few seconds. I thought, okay, I'm going to hit the horn and make this thing go away. And as I go to hit the horn, something in my head tells me if I hit this horn, it's going to pull the top off this car, and I'm in trouble. So I'm sitting there, and as I'm looking at its eyes, it felt like it was looking into mine. And this goes on. It felt like eternity. It was probably 10 seconds. I mean, it was a pretty decent stare down. And then it just turned to its left and stepped over the guardrail. Didn't jump, didn't hop, just stepped, and it was gone.
Wow.
So, that one was kind of, from the headlights, a lot of black hair, but in the light, you could kind of see brownish highlights. And just the size of it was, I sat in that car a couple months ago because one of our local junkyard has it. And I wanted to get an idea if it was really as big as I thought, if it was my imagination, and I'm 6 foot and I was about 290 at the time. And you could fit 2 of me in that car and that would be it. But its shoulders were on the outside of the car, right in line with the fenders, because the hands hung down just below the hood of the car. So it was definitely every bit as wide as I remember it was. So and then I sat on that story for a long time because, back then in 87, that wasn't quite the thing you were going to tell people.
Right.
And, as a matter of fact, in that same time period in Benzie, there was a sheriff named Zane Gray. And a very popular guy, had been reelected a couple times, but then he saw a Bigfoot right around that same time period, reported it. And then his competition used that report and got him voted out, said he was incompetent, crazy, you name it. But because he reported that Bigfoot, he got voted out next election.
Wow.
So, and I never went looking after that. I would still go out occasionally to those woods just to see if they were still the same, and they did. They remained that same creepy hair up on your neck when you walk back there, and for a very long time. And still to this day, they do it. So that was how I stayed up on it. I watched all the shows I could. I'm not going to try. I'm thinking about the bingo card, so I don't want to give somebody bingo right away, but like monster.
Oh, don't worry about that. We got some doozies in there.
I was looking, I thought, man, I used about half of those. It's going to go quick. So we want to extend this a little bit, I think.
Yeah, just a little bit. I mean, we don't want everybody just to be like bingo, bingo, bingo.
Yeah. Be going broke from the merch store.
Yeah, right.
Monster Quest was my favorite. That was, they had some good ones. They had some good films on it. And then the specials as they would come on. But I really didn't start looking, and I don't even think I told my story to maybe 2 people, and even then it was 30 years later, and it was people who I knew, knew about those woods, and in 87, this is what happened to me. So, and then in 2019, I was on the Facebook groups, and oh geez, Gary needs a shirt, huh?
Gene says, go for it, Brian. Gary needs a shirt.
Yeah. He's going to have to earn it.
Well, just so everybody knows, Gary was messaging me just now to let me know that he is throwing in one of his infamous walking sticks. So that is also in the mix. So we've got...
Neat.
Just off topic for a minute, I did order one of Marty's shirts, and they fit wonderful. They wear nice, but I do get a funny look when I got Bigfoot Bestie, and it's a cute little hourglass figure instead of a tank like me.
I have my Bigfoot Bestie on tonight, as a matter of fact. I have my Bigfoot Bestie on tonight. So,
I wore it earlier. People kept looking at that shirt and looking at me like, what the heck?
I'll have to send you something like more masculine, maybe the jackalope or something.
There we go. So yeah, it's about 2019. I was starting to get into.
We could
Facebook
send him
groups.
that T-shirt that says "Got Knockers."
That's true.
Well, I try to keep the pickle out of other people's business. So
that's this guy.
There we go. See,
I love my own merchandise. I can't help it.
that's what happens when you're a good designer, good artist.
That's true. That's true.
Ironically, when I first started getting back into it, wanting to get into it, I should say, actually looking to confirm what had happened to me. There was a place in Calala that my mom owned a bar by, And I had heard experiences there and couldn't believe it when I had messaged Matt Moneymaker, in 2019, and I said, where in Michigan can I go? And he actually responded. I was shocked. And he's like, go 6 clicks north of where the Manistee River meets Lake Michigan. So I looked it up on the map, and guess what? That's right at the bar where my mom's business was. So I haven't been
Wow.
yet, but then somebody who I trusted a lot told me about another spot that was a little closer. And then that was when I started looking, was in 2019. So,
I'm
and
sure Marianne's she's just buffering a little bit. Hopefully she's going to come back. She'll come back in just a minute, I'm sure. That's true, Robbie. I know a guy who does a lot of amazing, engraving work. Happens to be Mr. Robbie Rains. Hey,
oh,
Robbie, definitely send me the info so I can promote that for you. Or put it in the chat. I think you're a moderator. Aren't you? Shoot, I don't know. I'm sorry, Brian.
no worries.
Miss Marianne is back.
Yeah, kicked me out.
Yep, to the curb.
Right.
But in 2019, a friend gave me a place, and I thought, well, why not? And I told my friend who liked to go on rides with me, I said, hey, I'm going to go check this place out. And she's like, well, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, I'm looking for Bigfoot. And she's like, they don't exist. You're wasting your time. I'm like, you know what? It's a walk in the woods. Why not? So was a total skeptic, non-believer. So we go out and park, and I'm not a very loud and boisterous person. So instead of doing like the calls and knocks and things like that, I started out just when we got to the truck, I would clap twice just to see if anything happened, because I'd heard it on a couple shows, they'll clap, they'll smack flip-flops or anything like that. And the whole trail we walked down, nothing was happening. It's the first time out. I knew I'm going to get skunked. But it was a nice walk. So we get to the bottom, and it's a mile or so down that particular trail. And I look up, and there's a hill. And at the top of the hill, it overlooks Lake Michigan. And I thought, man, that would be a really cool lookout. If there is Bigfoot, I bet he's up there. I wonder what they can see. So I go to take 2 steps up the hill, and all of a sudden it sounded like 2 catcher's mitts hit together, faster than I can clap. And I stopped dead in my tracks.
Like you heard it just like one time, or you heard it like I was like 2, like boom, boom.
I mean, boom, boom. Scared the crap out of me. I look at my friend, and she's got tears in her eyes at this point. And I said, it takes hands to clap, right? And she's like, yeah, I'm ready to go. So I'm like, okay, we're going to go. And as we start to walk out, then all of a sudden you get a tree knock. And I'm not clapping anymore. I don't want any more attention at this point.
Right.
Got a tree knock, and I'm like, okay. And we walk a little farther, and then we got a couple whoops. I'm like, what the heck? And they're getting on like each side of us. And the farther we walk, the more frequent they get. And then when we're just over halfway, I can hear the metal gate next to my truck where I parked rattle. Something shook the heck out of that gate. Oh, man, that's it. My first time out, and I'm going to get splattered all over the place. We're done. I'm trying to stay calm for her because she's freaking out. And I'm like, just keep going, keep going. So we're walking, and at one point, the hair was on my neck. I knew we were being followed. I turned around and looked just in time to see a great big brown shape jump behind the tree. Black, sorry, not brown. But jump behind the tree and peek. And I did not tell her. I'm like, okay, time to move a little faster. Let's go. So we get back to the truck, and everything. You could see where it was just light impressions. It was nothing, but something had been at the gate and shook the gate. And we left, and it took me about 6 months before I got the nerve to go back. So that it scared me pretty good. And then after that, I watch more and more. Now I'm really hooked because I want to go back. I'm just not brave enough yet. So I'm watching more and more shows, more and more Facebook groups and things I can do. What can I try to get this happening? And, so we were going out and just walking at first, and the whole gifting thing, as controversial as that was, I thought, oh, I can do this. Heck, I can control it. No problem. So then I started leaving, some peanut butter out. I would leave cars out, little, once the peanut butter started to disappear, and I would find the jars with the, basically it looked like they were lit clean or something, and the lid would be screwed back on. And then I started.
Let me just, if you don't mind, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I want to just talk. I want to talk a little bit about the peanut butter jar situation, because for me, when you and I have talked, and we talked about these peanut butter jars, can you talk a little more about them? Like because there's more details to it. Like you had them numbered, that you had to put dates on them. Like let's talk a little about that, because your strategy wasn't like, oh, I'm going to take one peanut butter jar and just throw it out there. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, at first it was, I'm going to take a peanut butter jar and throw it out there. Because I literally got into this for fun, for confirmation for me.
Mm-hmm.
I suck as a researcher. I don't have any notes on this. All my notes are basically pictures to go back to dates. That wasn't my intention when I did this.
Mm-hmm.
But when the peanut butter jars started disappearing and finding them on a regular basis, then I did start dating the lids and the bottoms. And then I would put like H if I put it on top of the hill on both, or B for the barrel I was putting stuff in.
Mm-hmm.
And, most of the time it would be like kind of a scavenger hunt, almost like they were leaving a trail. The peanut butter would be gone. And then I would start walking and start finding, the paper. And then a little farther down, I would find the lid. And then a little farther down, then I'd find the jar. There were times when they would turn around, or something would turn around and put the lid back on the jar and stick it up 8 feet in the tree, and then I had to climb up and get the peanut butter jar down. So I didn't want to be littering. My whole goal was to collect as many of them as I could. And there were a lot of them that, your squirrels got into, the trash pandas and stuff like that. But it got to be pretty easy to tell when they did, because the jars were never clean. You could see their little nail marks on it. The lids were chewed up.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that were really interesting were, especially the one I got where the tinfoil was peeled perfectly off the peanut butter jar. I mean, not one little mark left on it. It was a perfect circle. It was rolled up, put back in the jar with the lid screwed on, and not a mark on it.
Oh, wow. I
So
don't
it's
remember you telling me that one.
Yeah, that, there's a couple of them those are the ones that catch my interest as to what's going on out there. There's the one peanut butter jar I found, it looked like something had crushed it. And I saw somebody post on another show where it looked like one stepped on it. And I looked at mine, and it was like, you can see what looks like 4 finger impressions on one side and then a thumb on the other. So, which is a whole lot more torque than I could put on a peanut butter jar. But I was putting, at the peak, I was putting 9 peanut butter jars out a week. So
Can you show us one of your peanut butter jars?
Yeah.
I know it sounds really strange, but I kind of want everybody to see like the size of the peanut butter jars he was actually putting out there, because it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, no problem.
And Brian is no little guy. I just want y'all to know. Brian's my beefcake. He's my beefcakey bestie. Okay, just saying. So
here's the jar. This is how clean they come. And then you can see there's not a mark on the lid.
mm-hmm.
So now they were taking the label off?
Yeah. Some was,
Okay.
and they peel it perfectly off. There's no glue left on it.
That's wild.
So, and I got I threw a lot of them out just because I was having so many of them.
Wow.
At some point.
Robbie Rains wants to know, have you ever thought about doing DNA testing?
I did at one point because the one I just showed you, I think, has 2 hairs in it. I reached out to Dr. Melba Ketchum about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess due to the plastic, that's an issue.
Degraded the sample, maybe.
Yeah. So she didn't think there would be anything in it. There were some fingerprints on a couple of them. She gave me a number of the guy to reach out to in California. Yeah, I'm still paying on that credit card, cowboy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he wants to know, did you take out a small loan for the peanut butter?
Oh, man.
That's a lot of peanut butter, Brian. I mean, what'd you say, 9 jars a week?
9 a week and a good solid 2 years of that.
2 years. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yep. I would put them, I had 3, 4, 5 for sure spots I would put them. And then the rest of them I would kind of mark and go back and see if they took it from a new spot. There were a couple structures, and one of them was pretty I should have sent you the picture. I forgot. Or maybe I sent it to you before, but I had put a jar of peanut butter out.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go back and the jar's gone, but I'm looking around and there's a stick and an old pallet that was out there and then a big stick. And something had punched a hole in the bottom of the peanut butter jar and then took the lid, and so it stuck through like a harpoon and gone through it, hanging there like a Christmas tree ornament.
Wow.
So I wasn't, and lo and behold, I thought, well, maybe that's where they want me to put it. And they started disappearing from there. So kind of took a message from them with the peanut butter that way.
Wow.
And that went on for, like I said, 2.5 years solid. 9 jars per week was 2 years solid. And then,
Wow.
and there were
Now,
crazy things that would.
Were you putting those 9 jars all together, or did you have 9 separate spots?
I put them in 9 different spots.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I would try putting them under. I had one spot where it was actually at the bottom of the hill where I had my first sighting, and would hide it under the tree bark, a big piece of tree bark, and then stick popsicle sticks in it. And I come back and the tree bark would still be there, but the peanut butter was gone and the popsicle sticks would be laid out by color. So something took the time to pick the tree bark up, grab the peanut butter, and and then I find the peanut butter up halfway up the hill or something like that.
So you've been going into the same area for exactly how long now? How many years has it been now?
2019. So I was in December of 2019. So we're 4 years.
Okay.
So and there's been some crazy, the one time I was walking to look for one of the jars, and up on the hill, how when the termites get a hold of wood and it's just the right light, it's like a reddish brown tint, like it's been rotten.
Mm-hmm.
Kept looking at it, like just grabbed my attention for some reason. And then when I thought, screw it. I'm gonna grab, as soon as I pick up my phone, the stump stands up and jumps off the hip. So, and back then it was only about 5 foot, but was way wider than I am. So
I think I would have flipped out a little bit on that one.
I'm like, okay, that was cool. At least he didn't come down the hill at me. So,
Right. True.
And so, and that was when I started getting some confidence that if they wanted to get me, they would have done it a long time ago.
Yeah.
And there was another time when I was putting peanut butter out, and like I said, I do some tree knocks because, I do get a few responses here and there, but the clapping is the one that seems to let them know I'm there or whatever. And I went to put peanut butter.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you. Just when the questions come to my mind. So you're creating, so this has been for 4 years. So you're creating a consistent pattern when you go into these areas, these 9 specific spots. Are you clapping just when you get out of your car? Like what's your pattern?
So the
what
pattern was,
exactly do you do?
so the pattern was I would clap when I would get there, and then I would clap at each spot. That pattern changed once the DNR got involved, and I had to quit the gifting. So now, thanks to your suggestions, I do like the quartz and colored stones, so that way I'm not feeding them anymore. And the blue ones do disappear even if I bury them in the stack.
I told you. I don't know what the heck it is about the color blue. I don't know if it, and this is where my mind kind of goes back and forth. Like, is it the color ranges that they see better, or color ranges that, that they can distinguish easier than others, or, from like how many cones they have in their eyes, I don't know if it's that, or if it's like, oh, they just prefer the color blue. Matt and I have done that so many times where we have put out all these different things of different colors. The one that gets touched, moved, messed with, or taken is always blue.
And the only contradiction I have to that is, out of all the jars of peanut butter I put out, Jif, red, creamy, crunchy, blue, will not touch it. Leave that there for weeks and they will not touch it.
So it's crunchy peanut butter, but it has a blue lid, but they won't touch it.
Yep. I even tried turning around and thinking, okay, I'll outsmart you. And I switched the lids on it. That was the only time the blue lid disappeared.
Wow.
So,
what do you think, Marianne?
Well, I don't know.
Did Marianne freeze again?
I'm just blown away by it.
Well, just so Marianne knows, the DNR did get involved with me, and this is where I do have quite a few regrets about the whole feeding thing, was because I did get pretty seriously sick for a few weeks.
Okay.
This was last summer. And so I missed some time out in the woods. And, I missed about 3 weeks. And after about 2 weeks of being back, the DNR had put cameras about and got my plate number.
Now, DNR is the what? The Department of Natural Resources.
Yeah, conservation officers.
Yeah,
that's Michigan's version of them.
Okay.
Yeah,
it still boggles my mind, because we have local offices and local officers within 10 minutes of where I'm at, but they sent somebody from over an hour away to come talk to me. So I don't know why they would do that. That didn't make a lot of sense, but they did get a hold of me. And apparently what had happened was, our conversation with the DNR was, the wildlife was starting to get too close to the homes. They were bothering the inhabitants. And because on one side it's conservancy, the other side, there's 3 pieces of property, 2 year-round residents. And the DNR is like, well, you can't be doing this because, the bears are coming out. You can't be feeding the bears.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, bears? And she's like, yeah, the bears are, causing the issue. And I'm like, I said, is this being recorded? And she was like, no. I says, well, and like I said, at this point it was 2.5 years. I said, in 2.5 years I've been out there, I've never seen a bear track, bear scat, bear scratch. And bears don't leave 23-inch tracks, throw rocks at my truck, and knock back at me. And she went, what? And I went, no, that's as far as I'm going. And then the next questions were, okay, we want to see your trail cams. And I don't put trail cams out because, 1, I really don't know how to use them, and 2, I don't want them to get stolen. And then she wanted my phone. And I'm like, well, you're not getting my phone. There's just, blob squatches on there and nothing more, unless you get something that says you can have my phone. We're not doing that. So then she just warned me about feeding the wildlife again, making sure I don't feed the bears, because otherwise the conservancy is considered private property. They said they don't want to kick you out of there, but you know, if you keep, we're going to cite you for littering and kick you out if it continues. Then about a week later was when one of the people that live out there and I get along just fine. They know what I was doing the whole time. And I started talking to them. They came out and apologized. Sorry, you know, we had to call the DNR. And I'm like, so what happened? You guys had my phone number. Why didn't you just call me and tell me? And what happened was, after I missed about 2 weeks out there, the people's motion lights were coming on. And they couldn't figure out why the motion lights were coming on between, you know, midnight and like 3 a.m. So they watched the footage and peanut butter jars were coming, bouncing in their yard. So these motion lights were coming on. Well, then week 3 was when I really feel bad, because they started, the other person who and I don't get along, they don't like what I'm doing. They started peeking in their windows. And the guy actually got a picture of one peeking in his daughter's 2nd story window. You know, she was only 5 or 6. So I felt absolutely, and I still feel absolutely horrible, because I created that situation thinking, oh, they'll never cross the road. Well, you know, or they would only take it out on me. I never dreamed there would be consequences for other people besides me. So,
yeah.
And I did. I immediately quit the feeding. You know, I was naughty once, because it was about 3 or 4 weeks later. I was out and putting some quartz out and still looking for old peanut butter jars that may be floating around. Well, that was the other thing with the DNR too. I forgot to mention, this was the funniest part, was because she asked me, she goes, you know, we got all these peanut butter jars. She goes, I said, well, what kind of shape they in? And she's like, well, you know, most of them are raccoon chewed, but there are some really clean ones. She goes, why did you put the date on the lid and then a different date on the bottom? And I'm like, what are you talking about? She says, well, we found a couple of them, but the lid and the bottoms had different dates on. I said, oh, well, okay. You know, I didn't do that. Something put the lids on with different dates, though. So I should have asked for them back. I was so nervous, though, that I was going to be in such big trouble for feeding bears or getting kicked out of there. You know, I put a lot of time out there, and I didn't want to ruin. But
so you still go there. You're still going, right? Actively going there?
Yeah, I haven't been in a couple months because I had a heart attack back in December. And that's kind of mentally, it's got me on edge, going kind of deep in the woods without, if something happens. But tomorrow's supposed to be 60, because it's been winter in Michigan, so it's not as much fun out there anyway. But we have no snow and it's going to be 60. So my game plan is to be out there after 2 o'clock. You know, hopefully see what's new, if there's anything new.
Yeah. So what are you, I mean, what is
well,
it?
There's still
you're
4
trying?
crystals that I haven't been able to check in a couple months. I want to see if anything's happened with those. Other than that, I'll go out and look and see, you know, because there's been a lot of times where I'll go and look and, you know, see if I can find any prints. There's one area that just about every other week, there's so much dead leaf fall out there. It's a problem. So finding good tracks is just really hard. But there's one area, and I think that's how they move around out there. It's like a valley, and it goes in between all the bluffs that are on Lake Michigan. And during the summer, from June till just before hunting season, every week that place is tore up. All kinds of, you know, there's like a dump down there. That was one of the peanut butter spots that I like putting, because there was a stick structure that was like an asterisk built into a tree instead of being on the ground. So, and that's also an area that I have no idea where it came from or how I got there, but it's got to be a 600-pound piece of old sewer pipe that just appeared on the hill.
What do you mean it just appeared on the hill? What do you mean?
It it was not there 1 week, and then the next week, all of a sudden, there's a huge pipe up on this hill.
On like just on laying on top of the hill, or
Yeah, it's only about, it's probably waist high to me, so 3 feet, and it's maybe that long.
and it's
And it
made
just
out of and it's made out of what?
concrete. Huge old sewer pipe. I put my hefty behind on it, and I can't push it with my legs. I can't roll it, nothing.
All right, so how do you think it got there?
I have no idea. I don't even want to guess.
Do you think the DNR did that, or you think it was?
This was before the DNR, and where it's at on the hill, I don't know how you would get heavy equipment to put it up there.
Yeah, because that's
Oh,
what I
I
say. Is there
gotcha.
a road where it's at, or is it just in the middle of nowhere?
It's just kind of in the middle of the woods. That was where
So
I
no
started.
drag marks, no road, just
No. And it's old. 1963 was the piece dated.
Wow.
So it's just a huge piece of pipe that wasn't there 1 week, and what's been there since.
And so, what's the diameter of it? Like how big around is the inside of it? Like
Couple feet
couple
across.
feet.
I mean,
Huh.
probably, yeah, outside my shoulders.
Okay.
And like I said, just above waist high.
Interesting. That's
I got all
so
kinds of pictures because that was
random. That's
Yeah.
so random.
There's so much random things that happen out there. I'll be
Mhm.
going in the same spot, and then all of a sudden, the normal tracks I find are 15, 17, and 23, with occasional baby ones, like 6 inches. But then, out of the blue, I was up walking up toward the bluff, and there's a whole bunch of birch trees, and then there's one cherry tree that's turned upside down. The roots are sticking up in the air 8, 9 feet plus.
Wow.
And next to that are 19-inch tracks, which I'd never found out there before. So I don't know, at one move, walking through, let's say, look how big and bad I am, or what the deal
Right.
was. The one night and I talked before, but that my friend and I got escorted out because I think we interrupted the dinner. That was one night where the next day I went out and I took that picture of the 23-inch track, but we pulled up that night, and this was 2022. And we just out for a quick ride, and I said, well, let's go here. I want to check things out, just see, because I don't go out there very often at night. It gets they get busier at night. And I saw deer tracks going up the hill. I thought, well, that's cool. And then I looked a little closer, and about halfway up the hill, there was a track. And then 3/4 up the hill, another track. And they were huge, footprints. There was no snow kicked in between either.
Mhm.
And I looked at my friend Sean, and I said, I know who made those. And she goes, yeah, okay. And so we stopped, and I said, well, let's go follow, see what happens. So we get out of the truck, and we're about knee deep in snow. And at this time, she had stage 4 cancer, so she was only about 105 pounds. So we finally get to the top of this hill. It's not a huge hill, but definitely a hill. And as we walk, we can hear kind of sticks break on both sides, which could be a deer, could be anything. We get a little closer, and I hear a big tree break. And at this point, we're lights out. There's no flashlights, nothing. And she's like, holy F, what was that? So I don't know. She said, turn on your flashlight. So I turn on the light, and at the edge of the beam, maybe 15 feet away, was this huge reddish brown, I'm going to call it a Bigfoot from what I could see. As soon as that light hit, it brought its left arm up like this, and you could see that orange hair hanging down off it. And, I cursed at that moment. And I turned around and I put my keys in her hand, and I'm like, go. And then as soon as we turned around, it let out just a guttural roar that went right through you. I mean, it was like being, I went to a Boston concert. I was 5 rows back, and every guitar note you could feel your pant leg vibrate, and that's what this roar was like. It didn't do the high pitch anything. It was just like it was totally like he was really mad at us. And I put my keys in her hand and said, "If I'm not 30 seconds behind you, you get in that truck and you go." And so I'm pushing her through the snow because she's not moving fast enough for my liking. And you hear her walking behind us. And so picking her up, throwing her, picking her up, throwing her. And you get to the bottom of the hill, open the truck, shove her in. Well, the road is just a sheet of ice. As soon as my foot hit to go around the truck, I slip and fall underneath the truck.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm sitting there trying to, paddle my way out on the ice, not getting anywhere very fast. All of a sudden, my truck starts. I thought, oh, never mind Bigfoot. I'm going to get squished right here by my truck.
You gave her a direction.
I did, and she followed it to a T. And just as I got in, we shoved her over and turned her. I backed down the hill, and as we started headed toward Frankfurt, we were quiet for a couple miles. And I finally said, "I need a drink." And she goes, "Well, before we go anywhere," she said, "we need to stop at Shell." And I'm like, "No, I'm stopping at a bar." And she's like, "No, we got to stop at Shell." And I'm like, "Why?" And luckily she had snow pants on, but she had wet her pants from the roar.
Yeah.
Really embarrassed. I'm like, "Don't be embarrassed, because if I hadn't used the truth, 10 minutes earlier, I'd have done the same thing." So,
Yeah.
then we had a couple drinks. Then we went back the next day. And I was surprised she says, "I'm not getting out of the truck, but I'll do what you want." And so I had her take a film of me trying to recreate those steps. And it took me 9 steps, and you can see where I'm kicking snow the whole way. So
Wow.
that was an intense night. There's only been two nights where I was terrified, and that was one of them.
Well,
The other night was,
let me just ask you before you go to the next incident,
yeah.
because people talk about, being afraid or that they have trauma, right? That it was a very scary encounter. It was a very scary situation that they were in. Do you think it was just like when it put its arm up, do you think, and kind of roared, do you think it just was kind of like, I mean, like if somebody was to throw a light in my eyes, like out of nowhere, not knowing even what it was, I would probably be like, "Hey," you know what I mean? Like, do you think that's what it was? Or do you think that the roar was to scare you or to intimidate you?
No, I
Looking
think
back on it,
it was all my fault, because I think with the way those steps were spaced, it may have had a deer down and family back there, chowing dinner. And if some stranger walked into my living room and hit me with a flashlight in the middle of, pizza with the kids, I'm going to be pretty upset too. Because if it was to scare me, it could have done a lot more on my way out.
Right. It could have been there and like that,
Yeah, it would have been all over but the crying. So, that was totally on me. And there was other times that if they wanted to get me, like when I was standing there watching with a thermal, and as I'm watching the thermal, I can see 2 little yellow eyes, and they're real close to the ground, and they're going back and forth, 20 or 30 yards back and forth, but they're getting closer. And I'm like, "What the heck is that?" Because I couldn't see it with the flashlight yet. Finally, it gets close enough on the thermal where I can see more than eye shine, and it's a big fat raccoon. He had to be 20 pounds. Just a big fat trash panda. And then all of a sudden, as he's coming closer, I'm thinking, "Oh man, I hope I don't get bit." It stops and freezes by this tree, and I'm like, "Well, what the heck?" And then on the thermal, you could see a huge red heat signature reach out from behind the tree, snatches the trash panda up, and you can hear the trash panda screaming for his life, and then you hear a smack, and then no more noise. I'm in shock, watching, and within a couple seconds, because I'm just standing there holding this flashlight, several between 7 and 8 feet, you could see a couple softball size yellow eyes blink, and then we're gone.
Oh my God!
Here's something walking off, so I'm trying to see it again, and 30 or 40 yards down the hill, turns, blink, and they were gone. So if it wanted to get me, it could have had a Barber buffet instead of a raccoon buffet that night. You know,
Right.
I went back the next day and there were I don't know how I have no idea how he got that close, but there were 17-inch tracks coming up to the tree. And then there was a blood splatters about 8 feet up where the raccoon got hit.
Did you and you documented all of that?
Nope. Like I said, I'm so naughty.
No, it's, it's a learning thing, right? There's a huge learning curve to documenting evidence, right? Huge. I mean, if I didn't, I know a lot of Robbie Raines. I know I know a lot of, I know a lot of like police officers and that. So I'm, and I'm also into true crime big time. So, I get there's a lot to like, documenting a lot of that. Marianne, you're very familiar with doing like documentation and things like that. You guys teach that, right? Is there a delay?
I think there is.
I think so.
I do want to get better at it. I've actually ordered some things now, like one logbooks, so I got a different backpack so I can start having this stuff on me. Better night vision goggles. I'm going to start going out there a little more at night because they do, it's funny looking back on it, but it scared the crap out of me at the time. My first experience with the thermal out there at night. I had one of those at the time, Seek thermals that you plug into your iPhone. And it was the first time using it, so I got it on white for hot, and I'm looking around, nothing's going on. You can hear the occasional tree branches breaking, but could be deer, could be whatever. So I sit down, I'm watching this gate, and then, I can see two black shapes, and just figure they're gaps in the trees, no big deal. So as I'm sitting there staring at these, waiting for something to maybe come out across the path, I hear a big tree snap behind me. And as I turn to look, I go by my truck. Well, my truck engine's black. I'm like, oh, crap, black's hot. So I turn around and look, and the gaps in the trees are definitely closer and much bigger at this point. So, that was probably a sign I should probably leave. And I did. I stepped on the brake to put it in drive, and there were two big shapes in the taillights.
Wow.
So, and when I went back the next day, I did document what I could, because the trail they were on, I don't know if they call it peat gravel or what it is, but it's real hard that they lay down. But in the tall grass where one of them was going, you can see where it's all pushed down one direction and then pushed back down the other direction where it walked back down. So it was quite a birth in how wide the grass was pushed down. It wasn't like a deer had gone through or something like that. It was much bigger. And then we had the key jingling incident. That was the second time. I call him Red because, he's reddish brown. And I had left I drink pop all the time when I'm out there. And I had left a pop on my truck bumper. And I'm out in the woods and putting the peanut butter out at the first spot. It's only like 40 yards from my truck, so it's not very far from this little parking area. I thought, you know what, I'm going to try something different. Instead of clapping, I'm going to jingle my keys. So I rattle the crap out of my keys, and all of a sudden you hear crash, 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 crash. And I'm like, what the heck? So I run just in time to see a set of Head and Shoulders going off the bluff. And I'm like, holy crap, and go to my truck and took some pictures because there were 17-inch tracks around the truck. And I'm like, and I'm looking around and I thought, what crap is my pop? And so it had taken the pop off my truck bumper.
What flavor was it? Was it a blue can?
It was A&W cream soda. I treat myself every once in a while. Normally it's Diet Mountain Dew to keep the pounds off. But once in a while, cream soda, and sure enough, he ran off with half a bottle of it. So
doggone it.
That was when
I don't know. I would have thought maybe they would have been a Pepsi person or Pepsi.
Yeah.
Pepsi Squatch. I don't know.
I should have started leaving Jack Links out there instead.
I think Dr. Pepper.
Oh yeah, that could be too. 32 flavors in one.
Right.
Yeah, but then I got in the habit of leaving, another pop on there to see what happened, and the pop would get shot. Now I can't see what did it, but the pop would get shuffled around while I was in the woods. It might wind up at the first peanut butter spot. It might wind up under the truck. It might wind up next to a gate. I have had items returned out there, and I do have pictures of those, but the very first one was a
Yes, Jane. Yes. Jean says, Nonna, you need a t-shirt with one running away with a cream soda. Somebody did have a question. Hold on. It was Gary Spikes. I didn't see. If anybody else has any questions, definitely just, if you can put them in caps, I'd appreciate it. Gary wants to know, Brian, did I understand right? And you are not opening the peanut butter jars before placing them out, right? You're not opening them up. Like you take them off the shelf at the grocery store, buy it, and then that's it. You don't open them, nothing.
The first couple months I did take it off, I'd crack it, but then I thought, okay, let's see how smart they really are. So then I started leaving it, just seal it, and it didn't slow them down. And like I said, it just blows my mind that something with fingers that big can sit there and let's see if I can. I mean, that's how they peel it off. And
So
you'll find
just
the tin foil in one piece. It's one perfect piece.
And I couldn't do that if I tried. I'm just saying.
I can't either. And I've spent hours and a couple of peanut butter jars sitting there trying to peel.
And get it completely off perfectly.
I even put one of these in the dishwasher a couple times to try to get it this clean, and I can't get them that peanut butter jar that clean.
But how do you think? I mean, if you had to guess, how do you think they're getting them that clean? Do you think they're using their fingers and their fingers are long enough and they reach all the way and they just keep, I mean, we all know what it's like to try to eat peanut butter out of a jar and if anybody says that they don't know that, y'all, everybody over there in that chat, because let me tell you, I guarantee you everybody here right now has tried at least once to eat peanut butter out of a jar.
That last little bit for the family.
As hell.
I think they lick it. I think if you're that tall, you probably got a pretty good sized tongue on you. I honestly think they lick it. It's total speculation on my part, but I can't see. I've seen what the raccoons and possums, and how they leave swirl marks getting their hands in there. So I can't imagine, something that furry getting their finger in it, not leaving marks. Right. Maybe that's really get the majority out, but then they lick it. I don't know.
And you said in the entire time that you only found a couple of hairs, so we're talking 2 years, solid 2 years, 9 jars a week. And there was only a couple of hairs that you found, right?
Yeah. And most of that just suck at finding evidence. I'll be the first to admit it. As a matter of fact, I was so proud of myself of a baby Bigfoot track I found that I took a picture of it with my foot next to it and sent it to a friend who looks at it. And he's like, yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool. But what about the big track? I'm like, what are you talking about? And he goes, the big one. And then he circles it. And next to the baby one, I got my heel next to it. And I'm standing in about a 23-inch track. And you can see the toes above my toes. And it's like, I missed that. So I'm not very good at it. What I do find is just kind of pure luck.
Well, let's talk about the juvenile a little bit. Or I mean, we're on an hour. Can we go a little bit longer?
Whatever you want.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the juvenile tracks that you're finding. So do you think that, okay, wait, let me back up. I'm sorry. My thoughts got out of order. You've been going there for 4 years, right?
Yeah.
As far as finding the very tiny tracks that you're talking about, the juvenile tracks, are you finding them in different times of the year? I mean, I'm just trying to kind of like, are you finding one? Are you finding like maybe mama set it down for 1 second to do something and then picked it back up? So you only see just, I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to.
That's the hard part. Like I said, because there's so much dead default, you can see
Mhm.
impressions a lot of the times, and some are smaller than the others.
Uh-huh.
I would have to say it's closer to springtime when I find the little ones.
Closer to springtime, beginning of spring, end of spring,
End of spring.
end of spring.
Yeah. And then
And they're about, I'm sorry, what you said they were like
the last one I found was about 6 inches.
6 inches.
Yeah. It was about half my foot size.
Shane, if you're still listening, I'd like to, because I know that they've, like different researchers of like, whenever I hear them talking about juvenile prints, they're usually around 4 to 6 inches. Usually around 4 to 6 inches. Isn't that about what you hear, Marianne? Normally they're like, Marianne, do you hear that usually reports of juvenile prints being?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're small. They're 6 inches. And then I don't know, maybe their foot just takes off and they grow so fast.
Right.
And they just seem deeper than like a kid would make of that same size. So they just seem heavier. And that's what will catch my attention, is how deep are they, especially for that type of ground out there. Like I said, I pushed between 270 and 290 and I barely make a scratch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am finding impressions, half inch or an inch deep. So it's definitely way heavier than I am. The fact that, and I think I sent the pictures before, but
That's crazy.
Leading up, there's the old farmer's cattle gate that they use as a service road.
Mm-hmm.
1 week it's perfectly fine, and then the next week I go out and you can see 2 tracks. And then it looks like it just put its hand and pushed the weight straight down because the bar's bent straight down in like a V. And then there's 2 more tracks beyond it. And I showed that picture to a friend of mine, and he's like, dude, he says, I have cattle. I know how strong those gates are. He says, I've tried to push it on with a forklift, and it takes 800 pounds to bend it. So I got on that gate, and I got a little thing of me sitting there, trying to hop and bend the gate, but can't even get it to bounce. So
Hang on, guys. 1 second. Give me 1 moment. I will be right back. You guys just keep on talking.
Well, muscle is heavier than fat. So these things are all muscled up. They have to be heavier than, people.
Absolutely. So
yeah, those tracks are going to be deeper, than anything we can do, because the young ones are probably, toddlers wouldn't be as heavy as we are, but the juveniles, when they're 5 and 6 feet tall, they're probably a lot heavier because of the muscle than we are.
Oh, absolutely. I've been working in a gym since 1986. So, muscle is twice as dense as body fat.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you get, like I said, I weigh 290 and barely scratch the surface. And yet, I find tracks that are much deeper. The 23 inch I can understand. That's got to be a big boy. I don't know how accurate, they say for every 2 inches of a track equals 1 foot in height. I think that's the formula
I think that's what,
but I have to measure my feet, but I'm a size 15 and I'm only 6 feet tall. So that's why I love when I go out there and in my shoe, the track is still 3 or 4 inches taller than my shoe.
Right.
And it's I feel blessed that I've been able to have this so far. So that's why I
Right.
try to. I know a lot of people look for decades, and that's why I want to keep track if I'm still continuing to be blessed, because even I sit back and go, man, that guy sounds like he's full of crap sometimes because he's had. Well, speaking of crap, hey, what would that be? This is.
The infamous sweet and low box.
Yeah, that's it. I figured if there's a new co-host, I might as well bring on a co-guest.
There you go. There you go.
But,
Well, you're not the only one that sticks that stuff in the freezer.
well, I figure, if they can pull DNA out of a 2 million year old tooth for Gigantopithecus, they got to be able to do something with a 2-year-old sweet and low box.
Right? Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. You never open things in the freezer that you don't know what they are.
Oh, I got a label just in case,
That's
somebody
great.
doesn't actually pull that out from a pot.
How long have you had that in the freezer?
2 years.
And how long ago was it that Elaine found out about it?
A year ago. On a live show.
On a live show, he got outed, Marianne. He got outed on a live show that he has Bigfoot poop in his freezer in a sweet and low box.
Yep. As soon as that went up in the chat, next thing I heard in the chat, and I heard from the bedroom, hey, what's in my freezer? You thought I told you? No, I would remember something like that.
Right?
Yeah, I think she would have remembered.
Oh my gosh, that's great. I love that.
Oh my goodness. Hold on. Okay, so I do have someone who is telling me that they have bingo. So I'm just trying to. I know.
I even tried to avoid keywords.
Huh?
I tried to avoid the keywords.
Well, here's the thing. I'm there's one word that I'm not sure that I remember because I've been writing them down and going back and forth and I've been marking them off on all the different cards here as we've been talking tonight. And I don't remember this one particular word or phrase being said.
Don't tell me Sweet and Low made the card.
No, Sweet and Low didn't make the card, but it should have.
Yep. We'll have to do it again and make sure we put Sweet and Low.
Yes.
One day I'm either going to get a sponsorship or a cease and desist order. One of the two.
You never know. You never know.
That's funny. That's funny.
We've already got conservation officers calling me. I guess we might as well get an attorney with Sweet and Low.
Well, it could be that, Sasquatch becomes their, part of their logo like Jack Link's.
Right.
There we go.
See?
Yeah.
Exactly.
You never know.
The Sweet and Low for poo on the go.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much about what your experiences that blow me away. Number one, the amount of experiences that you have had in this area. Do you think there are other people having experiences, or do you think that they're just for, you going there, being consistent for 4 years straight, that they know you, they know, oh, he's here, or they're expecting you? Because I mean, Matt and I have an area where they I don't know how they know we're coming, because there is no pattern, but they're always around. It's really uncanny. I don't know how they do it, but that's a topic for another show. But how do you think it's just the consistency?
I think consistency plays a big part of it, but they've been there for decades. There's other shows that have done. Somebody has sent me a link to one of the Chronicle shows, and they were talking about their experiences back in 1987, and it was only So a mile and a half to 2 miles from where I'm at. And they were talking about all the sightings back then that they had. So Benzie County is just a hot spot in general. Somebody sent me a photograph the other day. I wish I could find it in Messenger, but they showed a picture of a regular Squatch foot, supposed footprint that was 15 inches. And I think it was from Gladwin. But then
Marianne, I'm sorry. Excuse me 1 second, Brian. Marianne, do you see the private chat over there? There should be like a private chat on the side. There's
let's see. Okay. Yep.
Was that phrase said in the show?
I haven't heard that in this show. No.
Okay. All right. Okay. That's what, like I said, I've been trying to be super diligent tonight, making sure
No, I haven't heard that one.
Yeah. Cindy, one of the words is, I can't say it because then,
then it's been said.
Then I give it away.
Say it.
So sorry, Cindy. I love you though.
My aunt just informed me, not only did she have her encounter back in the late 80s where one went through her chicken coop, but back in the 60s, and I got to find a way and to find archives of a now defunct newspaper, because back in 69, my aunt remembers while she was living there, and this would be 4 miles from where I had my first sighting, and there were a bunch of happy hippies out they had found this field by a lake, and they were drinking and getting high and the whole 9 yards, and they were up there raising cane for a weekend. And they ran into town to get supplies, and when they came back, they saw it was an 8 to 10 foot huge hairy person push over a tree across the road right in front of them.
Wow.
So they turn around and go get the police. The police come out, get around the tree, and they go, and their whole campsite is just wiped out. And there's 20-inch tracks everywhere. And my aunt said she remembers it was in the paper. It was only a couple miles from her house. So Benzie County activity just goes back.
Go to the library, and they should have archives of the old newspaper.
Is that where I go? I was wondering if I went there.
Yeah.
I'm not good at this, so I got to figure out.
Yeah, go to the county library, and they should have all those old newspapers on, like, probably if it's that old, it'll be like on the microfilm. It'll be on that, but they should have it.
Yeah, it made the paper, so.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got lucky with a friend giving me this place, and hopefully it continues, and hopefully I've made a little vow to myself to do a little better at documenting, because after watching guys like Shane and Randy and everybody's starting to hopefully come together and set some standards as to what's going to be acceptable and what's not. That was why I finally sent you a picture without a red circle, Marty. The original.
Red circles.
So
yeah. Well,
what does Shane says? Shane says they have to be yellow.
Yeah, they have to be yellow. Can't be red. Well, and we have to quit giving all these hoaxers any attention, because that's all it is about for them is attention. And once we stop talking about the stuff that's not legit, then it makes the legit stuff more valid.
Correct.
And that's the thing with AI now, and even I saw there's a new picture. I guess it's an older picture making around with the brown Bigfoot face. I see a lot of people making videos on it recently, but that was actually done with, from what I understand, it wasn't AI. It was, what do they call it? Image capturing. They took 4 different gorillas and orangutans and put them together. But then somebody said it couldn't be repeated with AI. Well, this guy jumped right on an AI site and did it live. And the more prompts you can give it, the better it gets. And it actually put the hair detail in and the light reflecting off it. So It's like, what's going to be the good standard now? Is it going to be just audio? Is it going to be where do we go? Guy like me's trying to figure that out.
Yeah, I think part of it too, like with the AI, and now I don't know about the image capturing, but like the AI, there are certain things with that if you can look at it, like their hands and feet, they don't ever look right. And Marty and I were having a conversation about this the other day.
Yes.
The hands and feet, they don't get it right. Now, the rest of it may look good, but if you're able to see the hands and the feet in the picture, they don't look right.
Yeah, sometimes they'll look like they have more fingers or more toes than they should, or they look, what was that one that you and I were looking at? And it was like, I don't know, it looked like it had like a knot or something on top of like it was, I don't know, it's just really weird.
Yeah, it almost looked deformed.
Deformed,
yeah, wasn't right.
Yeah. Look at the hands, look at the feet.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. They're getting clever. I know I'm never going to be in a league with other people, but I want to at least be better at what I'm doing.
Well, I admire that. That's one of the things, Brian, I love about you and I admire about you is you do that. You do, like, you'll message me and I'm sure Chris too, and other people that are, I don't want to say major researchers, because like I'm definitely not. Chris definitely, but I mean, at least when you're reaching out to people who somehow, some way, you're trying to make an effort, put in an effort to go, hey, what do you think about this? And you're doing that, and that is so important, and we all need to be doing that. So kudos to you for doing that, my friend, because not a lot of people are doing that, before they like share stuff out. I mean, ask other people that are used to seeing certain types of photos. If they've come across this before, have they seen it before? Have they come, I mean, because that's part of it, right? Is vetting your evidence and going through the evidence, so, I mean, it's always good to do.
And that's where I'm lucky enough to have people like you and Henny and a couple others willing to look at stuff and say, hey, yeah, this looks good, or no, you need to do this a little different. Or because I've been sitting on one picture for 2 years, and there was something about it, it looked like a great print. Something about it just didn't set right, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And I finally figured out how to download pictures on my laptop so I could look at them bigger. And what it was where it looked like there were toes. Once I could blow it up, you could see where it was half edges of a boot track. You could tell they weren't rounded. They were. I went, oh, okay. Now I know why I didn't want to share this one, because it's a boot. Because the narrow and the heel or the arch was off, so just off-putting.
Yeah, I mean, and I trust me when when people send me things that I'm not like 100, like, there's certain things, like, I mean, Robbie Rains, like, I send things to Robbie all the time. I'll be like, Robbie, because he's a tracker. And I send things to Shane all the time. Poor Shane. I'll be sending Shane, like, Shane, listen to this audio. And then he'll want to call me, and it's like 11 o'clock at night, and I'll be like, I got Shane, just say something, but no. And then it's a 2-hour conversation the next day. That's all. But
well, he never sleeps. He never sleeps.
He doesn't. I swear that man does not sleep.
No,
but
never.
And that's why that's why I want to talk to the people. I want to learn.
Yeah, look, Robbie Rains, he says, I get pictures of tracks every day almost from people asking about them. Yeah, but like, to have those kinds of people to go to, I mean, it and they're out there. They're out there, like Robbie and Shane, and I mean, and a lot of times just Google searching things. I mean, there was someone who posted what they thought was a Florida Panther track, and first I Googled it, and I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't look that doesn't look, it looks off to me. Something's not right. And I sent it to Robbie. I'm like, take a look at this for me, please. You know, like it was just, you know, it was a canine track, you know, clearly. But if you know what I mean? Like, so when you're looking, even for everybody out there, if you're not out there collecting things or taking photographs or finding things or looking at things or you're whatever, if you're just seeing things online on Facebook and these Facebook groups, if you're not sure, do a quick Google search. You know, I'm telling you right now, I have seen so many bear tracks where everybody's like, look, it has to be a Bigfoot because it has the mid-tarsal break. And that line that they're seeing, Robbie, correct me if I'm wrong here, the line that they're seeing that's kind of like in the middle where the mid-tarsal break is supposed to be, that's up for debate in my opinion. But that is a bear leaving his front foot, and then when he steps in with the foot from behind, it's like a double step almost. Double step track. Thank you, Robbie.
Yep.
Thank you, Robbie. And I'm telling you, I see them in Facebook groups all over the place because they think that because there's a line that it's a mid-tarsal break.
Yeah.
But if you go and but if you go and just Google a bear track and look at several different pictures of different types of bear tracks and what they look like, and people will be able to figure it out themselves sometimes, you know?
Well, we'd hope.
You did, Robbie. You did. See, I know this because I was with Robbie in Ocala in the forest where he didn't. I did. We were like, we were standing in the parking lot. We were like, we hadn't even actually gone in anywhere yet. We were like in the parking lot and we're kind of looking around. He's got his little flashlight and we're, you know, just like looking at stuff and looking around and all of a sudden, and I'm like, I don't know, I'm probably like 2.5 feet away from him, you know, I'm kind of like right off his shoulder, right? And all of a sudden something growled. And in one step, man, I'm little, I'm 5'3", but in one step, I was on his shoulder. I'm like, did you hear that? He's like, yeah. I was like, that's not a bear. And he's like, no. I'm like, what was, I'm like, and we're whispering. I'm like, what was it? He's like, I don't know. And I was like, oh, shit. But you know, I mean, it's like you know, in those moments, you're not 100% sure what you're going to do, but you're just kind of like, okay, I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do now. What's up? You know, but hey, I had Robbie. He's always armed to the teeth. So I was very, very safe. But we don't know what it was.
That's one thing I've tried was, you know, because I do have a CPL, so I can carry. Now, whether it's coincidence or not, I don't know. It's hard to explain. But if I carry in the woods, nothing happens. You hear birds, chipmunks, and squirrels all day long. When I don't carry,
have you ever tried this? And I'm not saying it works, guys. I'm not saying that. But I have heard people say that they will kind of set the intention and kind of say, just so you know, kind of like to whatever, like when, you know, just so you know, this is not for you. This is not to hurt you, to harm you in any way. This is just for my protection from, you know, other animals that might intend to hurt me. I've heard people talk that they do that, you know, that they'll go out and they'll say that and they still have, you know, encounters and activity. So I don't know, give it a try.
I heard it, never tried it, but definitely something on the list.
Yeah.
You know?
Gary Spikes, it works. He says it works for us. We still get activity even when armed. give it a shot. I mean, it's all about trying different things, right?
Yep. And,
But
that's how I got started with the whole, I forget who took the picture. But there was a picture circulating where somebody had a jar of peanut butter and there was a big, look like a thumbprint or something in it. And that was what gave me the idea of, hey, let's try that and see what happens. And then we tried different. It's funny because, the goobers they would take, I tried goobers.
you try goobers.
Yep, tried goobers.
Oh, I'm gonna have to put that on a bingo card now.
Yeah.
You're just gonna have to start a list of new words.
Honey peanut butter, nothing touched it. The funniest one was, the honey buns by Hostess, the frosted ones, which are like my absolute favorite. I put one out in a wrapper and it sat there a week, nothing touched it. I mean, nothing. I'm like, what the heck? So then I opened it up and left it there, and still nothing touched it for another week. I'm like, not the deer, not the birds, no ants. And I'm thinking,
That's funny.
maybe nature's telling me something, because if the ants and the birds usually eat it, maybe I shouldn't be either.
That might be right.
But it's like you said, you try new things and see what happens. And peanut
Rob-
butter just happens to be the hot ticket.
Robbie says the only encounter I had when I wasn't armed was when I was 8. Every other encounter I've been armed. So maybe it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
I don't know. But you know what? That's all we can do is try different things, right? Just try different ideas. And that's why one of the things I appreciate about Randy Harrington, because he's always trying to think outside that box, right? Outside the sweet and low box. I'm sorry. But I mean, he does. He's always trying to think outside the box. And I appreciate it. I appreciate that there are still many of us that are still trying to outmaneuver, outwit, outlast, outplay. Sounds like the Survivor commercial, but these beings, I mean, we gotta start like trying to come up with some more interesting ideas,
Well, and and your show hit home that you did on the community. It's like if the community would, instead of just saying my way's right, this way's right, it's like be open to what is going on, because in all of those encounters, the truth is somewhere in there.
Yeah.
It's not, well, hey, you know what? They're only going to eat jip because that's what I use. Can't say that. So
That's it. That's it exactly. It's like we can learn from each other if we'll just share what we're doing, And it's like if you're doing things legitimately, there shouldn't be a problem sharing them.
Yeah, and I mean, I can understand wanting locations kind of on the down low.
Exactly. And and when I say that, I don't ever expect anybody to say, hey, go down here so far, turn left on this road, blah, blah. That's not what I mean at all. What I'm talking about is like what you're out there doing. Are you doing it consistently? Are you this? Are you that? That kind of stuff. Because you know what? There may be that one person somewhere that has the very exact same thing going on, but nobody's going to know it because nobody's sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my pet peeve. Drives me nuts. Sorry.
No.
My soapbox.
Oh, I agree.
Oh no, I agree 100%.
If you share things, that gives other people things to try and see.
Exactly.
What they have going on.
Exactly.
Absolutely. I mean, and if we can't learn from each other, you know what I mean? Like if we can't accept other people's ideas or other people's, things that hey, have you ever tried this? What was your result? Well, guess what? Maybe in their result, they didn't get the results right over here, but you know what? Somebody could still turn around and go, that might work really well where I am.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't mean that, everybody, just because this person, it didn't work for this person, it won't work for another person with another group somewhere else in the country or somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like, because listen, people laugh all the time and they think there are no Bigfoot in Florida. Guess what? We are in sightings. We are number 3 in sightings. Okay. Washington State, California, and then Florida. So, I mean, what works in Florida may not work at what's in Washington State and vice versa. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, we're worlds apart there. So we need to start sharing. We need to start talking about like the things, well, this is working, but this isn't working. Or that's, how about you try it in your area and see if it works over there? Like, I think that we should be doing those kinds of things. I know Iron Dogger, Jackie, she preaches out on her channel all the time too. Like, hey, we all need to be talking to each other. We all need to be bringing these things up. We all need to be sharing so that we can learn more,
Yeah, because region dependent, environmentally, down in Florida, skunk apes don't have to worry about winter like they do up here in Michigan. So,
yeah.
Well, and it's funny too, because Shane and I were talking about, like Florida or like winter. What do these things do in the winter? Especially so in Missouri, the winters are not nearly as bad as they are in Michigan, but there's still less food. But for them, they're finding pawpaw seeds in the scat, and pawpaws are ripe in the fall, but they're finding the seeds in the scat in the winter. Okay. How are they doing that? Yeah. And who else out there has found that but not shared it because they're afraid somebody's going to make fun of them, or no, you're lying because they don't do this. You don't know that. Maybe they store this in the cave, that's a whole nother rabbit hole that we've gone down a time or two. Do they store food in places, or does their metabolism slow down in the winter so they don't have to move and get as much food? I mean, it's like if we start sharing, then maybe we'll start to figure some of these things out a little bit.
Yeah, see, that's where in Michigan, I think the diet switches up quite a bit because you got snow, but we've got deer everywhere.
Yeah, so, they have a food source. It's just different.
Yeah.
Let's see. We got a question from Miss Jean. What makes you think they survived without storing food? Upper Michigan, you better store food.
Well, that just came about is like we were talking about, they were finding seeds of things that weren't ripe, had been ripe 2 or 3 months previously. So how is that seed in that scat when that fruit, vegetable, whatever, I think it's a fruit, without storing it? Are they putting it in a cave where it stays good, for 2 or 3 months? And then they can go back and eat it. That's just something that, has been found in this area. And, so it's like Brian said, maybe their diet changes in the winter. Maybe they go to more of a carnivore diet because there's always meat, there's raccoons and squirrels and deer, they're around all the time. So maybe they just go to eating more of that in the wintertime. Don't know.
Hey there, River Morris. He says our Yowies, he's from Australia. Our Yowies have food all year round down here. Thank you. Thank you for stopping by. I haven't seen you in a hot minute.
Well, that's kind of like in Florida. Yours are going to have food year round. In Missouri, like I said, the winters are not as bad here. So they have some kind of food source. But yeah, in Michigan, where there's nothing plant-based in the winter, they've definitely got to do something different.
Yeah, and those tracks, and like I said, I think I interrupted their dinner that night was because there were deer tracks, and then I think it chased it down and had himself a little venison burger, and I interrupted it.
Yeah.
Wow, we've gone an hour and a half. Thank you so much, Brian. Thank you. Thank you for You know, I mean, I just love hearing about, I mean, and there's way more. There's so many more that we could talk about. I mean, so many things that, you know, I mean, I'm gonna have to have you back again. Gonna
Okay.
have to have you back for time 3.
I would love that. I love getting on here and chatting. And like I said, and then seeing people, and you know, because you do ask the questions, and by asking questions, it makes me think, what can I do better? So if there's a next time,
Mm-hmm.
how
There
am I
will be.
better able to document it or do things without circles?
Without the red circles.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. Right.
You know, like
Thank you
keep a
so much.
tape measure in my backpack so I can measure the tracks, and
Yep.
now I know to carry a flashlight so that shadow hits better and things like that.
Well, you know, Matt, I think it's funny. One year for Christmas, I got one for him and he got one for me. And if you go on, and I can't remember who actually put them together, but you can get them on Amazon, but they are Bigfoot Bigfoot like field guides, like these, and they're like laminated, and they open up and part of it has a ruler
We
on
saw those
it.
somewhere. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you can literally, like, you know, it has all these little different, like, what to look for, what this, you know, I don't know. But it was funny. I died laughing, of course. The one that I got for this other one I got for Matt, though,
Uh-oh.
is how to identify scat. I had to. You know, I'm still a mom and I troll my kids. I can't help it. They troll me and I troll them. Trust me.
My mom does the same thing. It was like when she was ready to move to Texas, you know, she was the whole Bigfoot thing. She went with me one time and we found tracks and we got grunted at. And she says, I'm going back to Texas where we don't have to worry about Bigfoot. And I'm like, I don't know about that. Well, she is now a
It's funny because they're like, Texas is like really high up on the list of sightings too.
And that's where it got funny, was because the rangers that they work with, they're just outside of Atlanta, Texas. And she called me one day and she goes, thanks a lot. And I'm like, and she was, I just got done talking to the rangers, and not only do they believe in Bigfoot, but they just accept them like armadillos. It's not if they're going to show up, it's when they're going to show up. And she said they already had 3 sightings last year in the park. So now I've got snakes, spiders, and Bigfoot on my list. Thanks a lot, son. Like, well, I didn't put them there.
Just made you aware that they were there.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. That's right.
So,
yeah, Chris says we need a poop. It was a poop pamphlet. Yeah, yeah, kind of like that. Yeah, it was funny though. Should have seen his face. It's almost as funny as the jackalope. Thank you again, Brian. And we do. I'm telling you, we got to have you back on. We got to have you back. We're going to talk some more. We'll, you know. And I do not believe anyone actually got bingo. Yeah, poop pamphlet isn't on your bingo card either. No, that one's not. No. But I don't believe anybody got bingo. But I do believe that there are some people that should have gotten pretty darn close tonight. Let's see. Yeah, there's one card that's like one phrase away, another card that's one phrase away. So it might be on the next show. So you guys just stay tuned for that. We got to keep, you know, and trust me, when somebody wins, I will make new cards and we will play it again. Because I think this is something that's like really, really fun and interesting. And I think that, you know, I mean, hey, like Marianne said, maybe some tickets thrown in there. Gary already said he's throwing in a walking stick, that he makes the best walking sticks, guys. Y'all don't even know. So That in itself is a big deal. And some merch. So if you do want a bingo card, email me, thenonnaboss@gmail.com. Simple as that. And I will send you one. And if you need to rewatch this stream, that's all. If you weren't here live, it's all good. You don't have to be here live. It's okay. It's okay for the rewatchers.
Well, thank you for having me. I always enjoy it.
Oh, I enjoy you so much. And thank you so much. And you were like you were like one of the people. I just want to thank you, like personally. Like, I can't face to face you because you're in, we're at opposite ends of the country.
Right.
But I want to thank you very much for reaching out to me. Like, the whole time I was sick, you just kept checking in on me and checking in on me and checking in on me. Thank you so much for that. I greatly appreciate that. You and so many others did, but you were really on it. You were like, "Are you doing okay? How you doing? Are you okay? How you feeling? Are you getting anybody?" Thank you. I appreciate it very much.
You're welcome. That's what friends are for.
Yeah. All right. You have a good night, sir, and I will catch you on Messenger, okay?
Sounds good. Have a good night.
Good night. Bye, Brian.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, Brian.
So, what do you got to talk about before we sign off tonight? It's been the bot has been doing its job and putting your Facebook page, the link to your Facebook page, in the chat all night long.
It is. I see that. I see that. Okay,
So
that's great.
like
well, what I can say as of today, we're going to a new venue. I am in the process of securing a speaker that makes us grow. So we have a new venue. It's much larger. And we're going to start here in the next few days announcing our speakers. But after I have secured the last one, we will start to announce them. And you all don't want to miss this year at all.
No, not at all. Here is the save the date flyer, guys. Definitely stay tuned to the Facebook page. That's where the information's going to drop, and it's going to drop there first. So save the date, September 28th, 2024. Okay. So put it on your calendar. Make sure you're not doing nothing else that entire day.
Yep, because you want to come to the conference and maybe go camp with us.
That's right.
All the good stuff.
So all this, the details on the speakers and the expedition, everything is going to be coming soon. So make sure you guys go over there, follow the page. Link's been in the description, in the chat all night long. Make sure you go do it, because I'm telling you guys, telling you right now, you do not want to miss. You don't. You just don't. You just don't. Okay. You don't want to miss any info on this conference.
Yep. You want to be at the conference. You want to be in the woods with us. Trust me.
Yes, yes, yes. Yes.
It's going to be fun.
Well, thank you for co-hosting with me tonight again, Marianne. Thank you for being here. I love it. So we'll have to get a guest and do it again, maybe next week. And yeah. Thank you guys all for being here. Thank you guys for being patient. Thank you. If you want a bingo card, thenonnaboss @gmail.com. Email me. Nobody hit bingo tonight. So maybe next week on the next show. So please, everybody, please remember to spread love and kindness wherever you go. Have a great night, everybody.